Good morning, everybody. This is Amanda Davis, owner and founder of Business Solutions by Design, your accounting ally, coming back to you this week in the month of July. And we're starting out this month. The year is half over. Can you believe it? I can't. It's so flown by. But the year's half over and it's July, and we're really going to be talking about the F word. So we're throwing that bomb out there, the F bomb. And that, in case you were aware, it's fraud. So we're talking about all things fraud this month. So a little scary, but some good things that you need to know for your business and organization. So what are some key things that could happen to you with fraud? So we're kind of starting out just talking about it. What types of frauds are there? And a lot of you think, you know, the phone scams. I got one. I was gonna get billions of dollars from a federal grant that I didn't apply for, and that was fun. That was a telephone call. There's lots of schemes and scams out there. There's the Microsoft one. They still call me. I don't know why they waste their time. We have Sadie walking around in the background. She's actually our expert on larger businesses and organizations. So she has some school of thought on some of these fraud things too. Because if you're an individual, if you're a small company, if you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur, or if you have lots of employees and you're a large company, or an organization, if you're a nonprofit, this affects everybody. And there are different types of fraud that affect everybody. One that I would have to say is technology. There are so many ways that you can have technology come at you in terms of fraud and criminal activity. I had one just the other day. The criminals are really getting smart. Like they've got it down. They're just coming up with all kinds of new avenues. So you kind of have to stay on top of it and stay aware of what's going on. But that's okay. One of the things that I got this last week or two, I think it was a couple weeks ago, I got a DocuSign, you know, from somebody I knew, from a CPA organization here locally. And I'm like, huh. And I wasn't expecting it. It landed in my junk mail and it just looked unusual because there wasn't any reason for this person to send me any documents. And when I finally found out, the woman was actually on vacation and her email got hacked, and they send thousands of these things. And the hope was that someone like me would get it from a trusted person like her and let them into my system to either, I don't know what they were gonna do, ransomware, steal something, get my passwords, who knows. I can tell you accountants are highly coveted targets for criminal activity, especially when it comes to technology fraud and criminal activity in that respect, because we have a lot of our clients' information, so it's kind of a one-stop shop right here, you know. Another thing that criminals would do in that case with an email, they might want to get your payroll records. And if they get your payroll records, well then guess what they get to do? Go commit income tax fraud, and they can go file all these returns for all your employees with, you know, lots of refunds that need to happen. One I heard about most recently, which is quite interesting, was they would file a return and it would be incorrect, and they would actually give you the money in your bank account, and the IRS would process it and it would go to you. And the criminal would call you and say, oh, we're the IRS and we screwed up, so you need to give us the money back on a prepaid card, or, you know, something a little a little sketchy. You know, you start hearing like, put it on a prepaid credit card, or go down and get me a money order. It's like, and the IRS typically doesn't call you. So what could happen in that case is they filed a fraudulent return, you got an incorrect refund, you thought you did the right thing and returned the money, and then the IRS actually can go pull that money back out. So you could have lost the money twice. So be very careful. The IRS simply doesn't call you. They don't have the manpower. So there's that. And like my call with the federal government giving me a grant, like there's no award letter. I asked them about that, and that was a big key. And she says, oh, I'm typing it right now. I was like, I'm surprised you have the time to call me before you get the letter out. That seems unusual. So just keep in mind some of those things. But for small businesses and organizations, there's things you can do. Separation of duties, internal controls. These are all big accountant words, and it just basically means that, you know, my dad and I were talking about this the other night. It's kind of funny. Don't leave a $100 bill sitting on your desk and be mad when it's gone that you left for a week and, you know, your $100 bill's gone. Like, don't leave things lying around. Find ways to protect them. If you have checks, Physical assets, you need to put them behind a locked space and a secure location. Your technology, make sure that you have your information backed up. And if something happened and the building burned, office space, if the building gets caught on fire, you want to make sure you have your backups not living in the building that was on fire with all of your other data. And be sure to just understand what's happening. One of the things that's so hard about fraud is sometimes you do all the right things, you have everything separated, you have the employees to do it, and then there's still trouble because of a term called collusion. If one person's covering up for another person or vice versa, that's harder to detect. I can tell you 9 times out of 10, fraud is caught when the criminal is putting it back. And the criminal is probably that trusted employee that you have worked with for over 20 years. Somebody you would never even think could ever do it. And it's all timing with the need to have it, access to it, that trust factor, all of that comes into play. And if that person's grandson gets hit by a truck and they can't afford to pay the bills or whatever, they might, rationalize in their head that you would give them the money and they just take it without actually asking for you, which is theft. And then when they go to put it back, that's when you're like, now wait a minute, I don't remember this deposit, and there's all kinds of ways that can happen. They can create a fictitious vendor, they can create a fictitious employee. As a smaller company, you're like, I just don't see how that could happen to us, but it really could. Pay attention to where things are. And if you don't have the manpower or the volume of employees or people or resources to help you, you actually can use technology to help separation of duties. We work with a lot of programs that help us do that. So each individual person has their own user. Hi, Sadie. She found a toy. She'd like to play fetch with you guys. So if you'd play fetch with her, she would adore that. But honestly, when it comes to fraud, you can use bill pay, you can have a different hierarchy, you can have different users that have different level of permissions and a bunch of various other access. Our clients give us their passwords to all of their accounts, and I don't like that. And we use a program called HubDoc and QuickBooks Online, and we ask them to put their password in instead of sharing it with us. That way we can gain access to the information we need without actually needing a password to manage for them. So we try to do certain things that do protect our clients to the best of our abilities, because we are a smaller company too. So leverage the technology, pay attention, protect your assets, and stay tuned, because we're going to be coming back next week to talk to you about all the different ways you can stop the fraud from happening. So if you've had any kind of fraud or any story, please leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear what's going on with you guys and your stories as well. And we'll be back next week. So this is Amanda Davis, owner and founder of Business Solutions by Design, your accounting ally, signing off, and we'll be coming back at you next week.